Welcome to the Riding in the Weeds podcast, where we tackle life's inevitable challenges, from navigating mountain bike trails to overcoming business hurdles and forging deeper connections with pets and people. It's easy to find yourself tangled in the weeds, but we're here to help with insights and strategies that'll get you out of the weeds. Our goal is to boost your performance in both sports and everyday life by sharing essential skills that we've learnt along the way. Through tales of our entrepreneurship journey, thrilling biking adventures, and fostering meaningful relationships, your hosts, Natasha Lockie and Ginny Brandon, will guide you on a journey that's not only enjoyable, but also inspiring. Join us to gain confidence that you need to navigate the trails of life. Welcome to episode 43 of Riding in the Weeds. This week, we're going to do a quick review. Did you know that we are at the end of the first quarter of 2024? Time is rushing by. We're just going to do a quick review on where we're at with our goals, what we set up in our start of the year layout, and we invite you to follow along with us. What have you been doing? What did you either write down or think to yourself that you were going to get done? How are you going to go at 2024? And how's it going for you? And we're not really digging into the deep stuff. It's more the basics. Taking care of yourself, taking care of business, taking care of relationships. And are you being true to stepping into the vision that you see for yourself? And it's all about, as Jenny's going to talk about, it's the baby steps. And I've just started a book. It's called 10X instead of 2X. And it's about slowing down to speed up. So quite often I think we feel like we're not actually getting anywhere. So it's really important to review. And that's what the last two podcasts have been about. Really measuring stuff so that we know where we're going. What have we been doing? Probably hasn't been nothing, even though sometimes it feels like we're running in place. How you doing, Jenny?
I'm doing all right, Tosh. How are you?
I'm doing okay today. Yeah. Might take a nap after this.
That sounds amazing. It's another gray, rainy day in Maryland. Welcome spring. So, yeah, nap sounds fantastic.
Yeah, we're a little cloudy here today as well. It's actually a bit of a change. I'm sure it will burn off. It gets colder here actually in the spring. So winter is sort of more steady, and then we get a little more wind. It gets a little colder. It would be really interesting to do a full year in this climate because it's not like anywhere else. And it's specific to this part of Baja as well. It's warmer in Cabo. It's warmer on the East Cape. This part of the year it gets quite cold around here. And I think the reason is because it stays pretty much the same temperature year round, which again, I think is really interesting for a body to not feel like a significant difference. Growing up in New Zealand, there was a very distinct difference between each of the seasons, even though we didn't have seasons like we do in North America. We definitely know the difference between winter, spring, summer, and we have autumn, not fall, because the trees don't shed their leaves. That really confused me when I first came to North America. I was like, why is it fall, not autumn? And I was like, well, because everything falls. So it makes sense, right? Like the difference is actually not so much language, it's actually real life, what's going on. I think when we feel those seasons, it actually really gives us an opportunity to review differently as opposed to just the monotony of it gets a little bit cooler, then it gets really, really hot, and then it sort of goes into winter. But reviewing is important. Marking these moments in time, putting a stake down and saying, right, this is where we're at. What's going on? What did I say we were going to do? How am I moving forward? I think really helps, even on a daily basis. But definitely, yeah, we're at the quarter.
Yeah. I feel like it's been simultaneously very fast and very slow all at once. So I am sort of surprised we're here, but also feeling like, oh, it is here.
Yeah. And it's interesting for me as well with this traveling. So normally it's fall when we come down here, and then we're down here for the whole winter season, and then we head on, and it's like, oh my gosh, my hibernation time has come to an end. Did I get everything done that I was supposed to get done? And there's a lot of judgment that comes up. And I think that definitely affects my energy levels. And then this feeling like it's such a hurry up and wait. I've got 1 week to get everything organized, and then we're taking a little bit of a vacation, and then we come home, and then we're going to start driving. But it's going to take us 3 weeks to get home. And I am such a planner and a scheduler and an organizer. And I just had my human design chart read again, and it is all in there. However, I've got like nothing up in my mind space. So my mind tries to grasp onto all of this and try and play with it. But I'm such an emotional, gut-centered being that my gut's like, man, there's really nothing much you can do. Most of it's done. Does it really matter if these things are done? How do you want this process to work? And I want to pull everything down and clean everything up and have it all organized. But then at the same time, I don't want it to look like nobody's living here for 4 days. So it throws me into a complete kerfuffle. And I have this fight going on between my emotional center and my gut center and my willpower and my throat center. And then the mind is trying to reason it all out. And it can't. And there's nothing to respond to. I'm like, I don't know what to do with myself.
And then you go take a nap.
I think that's it. I think you go and take a nap.
Right. That's a reset button, right? So it's useful.
Without my phone. That's the other thing I'm really noticing. So let's get into this review. One of the things I actually said that I was going to stop doing was taking my phone with me when I went for a walk. And this actually goes back to something we talked about last week, because that's something somebody said I should do.
Interesting.
Right? I should get out first thing in the morning, get sunlight, go for a 15-minute walk or whatever without my phone. But the hour that I go for a walk, a run, a bike, whatever it is with the dog, it may be that I go with Ian, which means I'm not taking my phone. We're interacting or not. We're just kind of cruising, being together. But if he's not there, I feel lonely. And that's fine. That's a great space to actually work through. But I've also got this list of books, and I like to listen to our podcast. So I wasn't taking my phone with me, which meant that I wasn't listening to our podcast, which made me feel disconnected. And then when am I going to have the time to go? So now I'm disconnecting from my husband and going and sitting in a corner and listening to a book, because all my books are on Audible, partly because that's how I like it, but partly because I can't really order a bunch of books and have them physically right now. So how do I manage my own personal situation and the goals that I want? Well, I've been taking my phone with me. I've been listening to podcasts. I've been listening to books, and I'm actually really stoked with the books that I've gotten through, and been enjoying some podcasts, and also just enjoying listening to different styles and noticing how they affect me. So, yeah.
Yeah. I love that, because I think that it's a great thing to point out that you're allowed to change your mind, and you're allowed to do whatever feels right in the moment. And that's a perfect example that not taking your phone, yeah, it was nice, but at the same time, you were wanting to do something different. You were wanting to listen to books or to podcasts. There's nothing wrong with that. So you tried it. It has value. And you said, as you said, some days you still don't take your phone. It's not a hard and fast rule. There's nothing wrong with changing a goal. And I think you didn't take your phone for quite a while. I don't remember when that shifted, because I know we talked about it, but you tested it out. So make a change. Not a big deal. So I love that. I think that's a great place to start.
Yeah. So what about you? Where are you going? We've got baby steps down here. How are your small steps happening?
Yeah, I think that one is something that I am definitely working on, and working on being a lot more conscious of. And the no judgment piece, I know that kind of has come up for both of us, about not judging the steps that we're taking, even when they feel like teeny, itty bitty tiny. I used to try and post for my business 5 days a week was my goal. And the last several weeks, I think it's actually been over a month now, I've been getting a blog post written every week and getting that shared out to my platforms. And then I've written a couple newsletters. So if you're on my newsletter list, you heard from me for the first time in like a year. Hi. So I've actually been able to sustain that every other week or so. And so I'm exploring those things that are sustainable for me. There's a little nagging fear that I will fall back into the burnout trap. I was thinking about it not long ago, and I tend to start in January, and that starts the ball rolling, and we do resolutions. It's like where you want to go. A lot of coaching programs start in January. And then spring comes along, and I'm energized coming out of winter, and it feels good. And then I get into summer, and then the burnout starts to hit, and the momentum falls away, and it's a downhill slide all the way through winter again. And I don't like that. There's a nagging fear that could happen again as I'm like building my momentum here in spring, but I really want that to not happen. In reviewing our goals, I don't think I want to change anything on my goals right now. I think I want to stay with exactly what I have because I don't want to build something that isn't sustainable. That I think is my primary focus right now, is keeping it sustainable for myself. So whether that's baby steps or adding awareness for myself, I want to keep that in the forethought and be very present with that. Because of course, now that it is spring, there's a million and one things that need to get done outside, and half the time it's raining, so I can't do them, which is super frustrating. But I'm in that point where I want to do more again. So I just want to be super careful with my energy and make sure that I'm not overdoing it for the long term.
I like that. So I'm just going to read here what you actually have. It's baby steps, take smaller steps, break things down to make more progress, balancing consistency and adaptability, create structures that allow for flexibility and consistency together, use rituals to create focus for productivity at any time, avoid burnout, be present within body moment to moment, what tools are needed to feel better from within, and build muscle for capacity for more awareness. Pretty good to just keep working on. And if you were going to give yourself let's say a score, 1 out of 10 for how you think you've done, what do you reckon? 1 to 10.
1 to 10. I think I might give myself a 6. Maybe. I feel like I'm doing pretty good with taking the baby steps for business and being able to add in things, because that's one of the hardest parts. When you decide to run a business, or you decide to train your animal, or you decide to work on bike riding, whatever, you have to find time to add that into your life. And that's why I've been pretty careful about how I'm doing all of this stuff, because there's not a whole lot that I really want to give up. I don't watch TV. I do spend some time scrolling that I want to reduce, but the flip side of that is I need decompression time. So I can't keep pushing all the time. So I feel like the baby steps I'm doing pretty good on. I feel like raising my own awareness is a life journey to work on that. So I have been more present with the way that I want to be, but it still is a challenge. It's like your posture or working on anything else. You do it, and then 5 seconds later, you realize you already forgot about it. You do it again, and 5 seconds later, you already forgot about it. And so it's just one of those things you just have to keep reminding yourself and adding reminders everywhere you can. So I'd say 6 out of 10. There's some stuff like I feel stronger on, but then some of the other stuff I want to continue to beef up. So, yeah.
Awesome.
So what about you?
What about me? So what I had was building routines, morning walk for 20 minutes, check, take 15 minutes and do one thing to move you forward. I haven't really been doing that. I'd like to see if I could do that. I'm not good at a small chunk. It's either go hard or go home, like a 25-minute focus, mate. I'm like, meh, let's do 50 minutes. I have been doing quite a few of those lately. So I have been moving forward in things, and I've gotten my inbox back down again. It is Easter Monday, so hopefully it's not going to fill back up today. So I'm going to focus on that one tomorrow. And then the zones of the day to organize your day. I haven't really been doing that. So that might not be something I can make work, or it might be. So I will revisit that one. And what else have I got? I've got add 2 to 3 co-working sessions. I was really doing great with my co-working. That has finished in that particular state because my coaching program finished, and I didn't want to pay the money to keep going in that. So I do need to add that consciously back in some way. Although I have a couple of times a week, I meet with friends from that program and we do co-working, and that actually is really good. And then, yeah, the getting strong without burning out. So this is where I'm going to say that same thing as you, right? I have a focus on being fit, and we've talked about this in the last couple of sessions. I'm on a slow burn with this one, and I've really been working on reprogramming the memories with this because things are fine. They could be better, but when I go to lie down to do yoga or do a HIIT workout, my dog bashes me in the head. He's like, no, push-ups. Don't do push-ups, bad for you. And I've got the shoulder pain and the neck pain that keeps re-flaring up. So I've been very gentle about that. So I think the very bottom of my list says having compassion. I'm going to say that I'm probably somewhere between a 5 and a 6. And I'm going to work towards being a 7 to 8 with that going forward. We talked about this before. What are your next steps?
Well, I'm going to stop you right there because I actually think out of your list that you probably are doing one thing every day to move yourself forward. You're just not necessarily conscious and intentionally saying, this is my one thing today to move me forward. You and I frequently message each other and give mini updates daily, sometimes about what we're doing. And you are doing things every day. Even your inbox, I think you can count that because if you're working on maintaining that to me counts because that is a heck of a lot of work. We've had that conversation as part of our past couple episodes is like how much we're inundated with stuff. And so managing that, yeah, check that box off in my opinion. I think you need to give yourself credit for that. And the co-working sessions, I think you've probably done pretty good with that too. Your format changed because you didn't have the structure of the coaching program that kind of drove you to do those, but you still tell me a lot that you're on them. So maybe you could add a couple more. But I think we talked about last time that like some of this stuff, it's like building muscles. Like it's the same principle and the same philosophy that you need to follow when you're working with intellectual stuff as building muscles. Nobody can jump into 6 focus mate sessions a day every day of the week and expect that that would be sustainable. It's not. If you haven't worked your way up, then it's going to be extremely difficult to try and do that. And you and I have both struggled with burnout. So we know what happens when we try and proverbially bite off more than you can chew. And you get stuck and you burn out and then you do nothing for months and months at a time until you can recover from that. So losing the structure of the coaching program now means that you have to take on that focus and that structure for yourself. And that's a change. And so it's not surprising that you would have a little bit of a dip and then you'll work it back out. But you already know what that feels like because you did it in the coaching program. So you're already well on your way to being able to do that. And I think that speaks volumes.
Yeah, thank you. And actually it's interesting because in the last week or so, what I've really come to realize is they say in an 8-hour day, you get 4 hours of work done. And when you go into 2 or 3 focused work sessions and get some other stuff around that done, I'm realizing that if I sit for 4 to 5 hours, I'm done. And if I do 4 hours of consistent work, there's not much left on the other side of that. But I've been focused for that entire time. And I've actually done the best that I can. And what's also interesting on what you said, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners have this as well, is when you actually stop and you review where you're at, we always think that everybody around us is in the exact same place and that they're thinking and doing all of the same things that we are. And I had a conversation with a friend the other day and she's like, 0 inbox. Like I have 15,000 emails, Tash. Ooh. And I was like, yeah, years ago, I realized that I cannot actually handle the little red dots on my phone. So my phone has shortcuts. I went and made my phone really pretty and I pay for a widget thing. I used to think people were crazy that did that. When would you have the time to do that? So one day I actually did it. My phone has its own little widgets, like my own photos for my Gmail widget. And I don't even know if you know this about me, Ginny, but every one of my widgets is a shortcut. So they don't look like the regular ones. And it's much more soothing to me. Nice. But I also have no little red dots except for on my phone. And I'm going to go and figure out how I did those widgets because now I can't remember and make one for my phone so that there's not a constant red dot saying that I've missed a phone call because I haven't and I can't clear it. And that actually bothers me. And so does having more than 200 emails in my inbox. So I went and found a tool in both of these things. I went and found a tool to eliminate that problem. I can't believe that most of the population get notified by their phone every time a TikTok or an Instagram or a Facebook message or a WhatsApp or a Snapchat or I don't even know, I don't have half of these things, comes in. I don't have those notifications, which is actually to my detriment sometimes. The phone either rings or it randomly beeps at me. And when it randomly beeps at me, I'm like, oh, somebody might actually need something from me.
What's that mean?
Right? And so I go and check. But if not, it's kind of like my inbox. 2 times a day, emails come in. So when I say to people, oh yeah, I'm working on zero inbox, what that means to me and what that means to somebody else is actually quite different. And it's the same with budgeting. We are all in different places. Before we jumped on, I was talking about the books that say just cut these 10 things out of your expense chart and you'll save X number of dollars. Well, what if you've already cut them all out? We're all living in different versions of the reality, but we're in our own movie and we think that everybody else's movie is kind of the same. We think that what we eat is what the rest of the world eats. Dark chocolate, milk chocolate doesn't exist for the rest of the world, right? It's actually kind of ridiculous. And I don't live in most people's reality. So what I think the world looks like and even what Ginny thinks the world looks like is so very, very different. And I think that that's a really important thing to remember when we're doing this, because we get so hard on ourselves because we're judging ourselves against other bars that are made up.
Yeah. And other bars that aren't what we need for ourselves in the first place. Yeah, 15,000 emails is a little bit much, though. I don't think I can deal with that. But I just swipe notifications off on my phone. They show up and I'm like, whatever. I prefer to go check emails on my computer. I'd rather not do that on my phone. But I see the notification on my phone. I'm like, well, I guess I better go get on the computer at some point to at least I have a mental awareness that it's there. Sounds go off on my phone, but a lot of times I don't pay attention to them. I frequently ignore them. I don't have to respond just because it made noise. So it's interesting because we all are different. Each one of us has what's going to work best for us and what's not, but it has to be a conscious choice. And I think that's part of why we are sitting down and having this conversation again. It's been 3 months. We've hit the quarter mark and it's a season change. So things are going to be shifting around anyway. I'm going to get into more time outside and more time riding and more time taking care of the farm and working on projects here. Lord knows the grass is 2 feet tall in some places already. So that's got to be dealt with. But it's either been raining or there's been no time. And so we're hitting that point where frequently we end up scheduling the podcast recording on the rainy days for me because I know I'm going to be in the house and I'm not going to want to go outside. I can't go outside and get things done. So our recording time every week is different because it's just based on what works for our schedules.
And that's been really good for me because my schedule's flexible, but that's going to change for the next month because it's going to be when I'm actually sitting in the same spot and I'm not on the road. And then we go into bike season, and mid-May through to beginning of July, it's going to be chaotic. I'm like a little squirrel. And I've also got to generate the business so that I am really busy biking and doing all the things I love to do. And then it's going to change again. So it's fascinating when we work together as well because you're steady and you're really just weather directed. And then I'm like this little ping pong ball. And now we're into the next phase of Tasha's year where she's doing this. And then we're going to go into the next. And I love being in a space where I get to see that reflection of just how much things actually do change for me from season to season or period to period.
Well, even my life ends up looking a lot different season to season. I don't run around quite as much as you do, and I don't have necessarily the same influx like with you're dealing with the bike business. You have a specific season where that is the busy season for that. But like I said, spring is here. The grass is really tall and needs mowing. There are chores and specific things that need to start happening now because it's the weather timing and the seasonal timing. I usually put in a garden with some veggies and things, and I got to get my garden beds ready. They are not in any condition to grow anything at the moment. They are full of weeds right now. Which is kind of how they end up, but I still am very much driven by that. And I find when I talk to people that if you want to know the weather, you should probably just ask me, because I probably know what's happening for the next 10 days because I'm always paying attention to it because it affects my life so much. And we already got an inch of rain since last night, and I think by Wednesday we'll have another inch, maybe inch and a half. So my ride time and work time with the horses this week is going to be Thursday and Friday. That's just what it's going to be because I'm not riding in the rain. I don't have the luxury of an indoor or a covered space. So I tend to shift and flow with that kind of thing because that's how my life needs to work. And I'm grateful that I can do that. I'm actually supposed to have a farrier appointment for my horse tomorrow to trim his feet. And that's probably not happening because I don't have a good dry space to do it in right now just because of the situation at the barn. So that'll get rescheduled. But my farrier knows that. We're all cool with it, and we just do what we have to do. So I think being able to build that flexibility in, it's a little bit of a luxury in a way, but it's also like I can't really imagine living any other way at this point. A 9 to 5 would not work for me.
Yeah, and I think that's just a really good point because if anybody listening takes a reflect and goes, wow, I can't imagine my life working any other way because we have taken the things that are important, we've taken the way that it works, and we've moved our world around. You've got your mums at work, and they have created a way for that to work with them. And just taking a moment to reflect on all the things and processes and strategies and pieces that you have put in place in order to make it so the things that do need to get done in whatever world you live in, you've done that. You've created that. And most people, I think, could probably, especially anyone listening to this podcast, could sit there and be like, huh, you know what, that's actually pretty cool. I have created space for all of these things. And then I judge myself on all the things that I haven't created space for. But we forget to really be like, you know what, I've actually come a long way. And I'm not as much of a hot mess as I might have been years ago, and that doesn't work for me anymore, but this now does. And we've adjusted and we've flowed and we've created a new sense. I was going to say just on that space, now you've said that you're not really going to change anything. For me, because I am moving into a different space, I am really going to work on having some intentional downtime. I need, it's actually just a necessity. I've got to add in some yoga because my body is just wound so tight right now. And I am going to have 2 months where I will have access to a gym, and then I won't again. And so I would really like to join the gym for 2 months and go. So check back with me in a month. It also requires getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning, which I have not done for a very long time. I'm going to continue to learn Spanish and really make space for continuing to do that more than just on my Duolingo. And be quiet. Add some meditation. Make sure I really enjoy the next little while with Ian because then he's going to be gone for a month. It's only a month. And I'm also going to be dogless for a month. So that means that I will have space to go to the gym when I normally went for a walk with the dog. I will have space to do yoga when my excuse was he was butting me in the head. Really working on creating those structures in my work and having goals that I'm hitting. And I can do that because there will be space to do that because other things are moving out of that space. So that's my goal. And I really want to wrap this up. And again, if you're listening, follow along with us. It's been 3 months. What are your big wins? Let's go with 3.
Yeah. I am proud of the fact that I have been able to keep adding in baby steps. And I think that's really why I don't want my goals to change, because I know spring is coming and that means more work. That means more outdoor work that has to get done. So I don't really want to change that because I know that, like you said, there's only so much space. So things are going to have to get added in. And I don't want to sacrifice what I've already built. So can I sustain that now? But I am very pleased with how much I have added in. I feel like my meditation practice is probably as strong as it's ever been. I keep missing a day every now and then. Tosh knows because I always text her and I'm like, damn it, there it went again. But my meditation practice is probably stronger than it's been. And I feel like I have been incorporating more moments of awareness in my day where I'm able to be very present with myself and I'm able to be very connected with source energy and the universal energy in the way that I tap into it. So that feels like a pretty strong win. And I will say that a little bit of it I'm going to chalk up to, for the third win, is surviving the last while. I've had some pretty big bumps in the road. Losing my friend's horse was a huge adjustment and a big process. My partner Ed has taken on a new role. It is requiring him, I'm going to say temporarily, unfortunately we don't know how long temporarily, to work over 60 hours with a hour plus commute. So that has been a big time adjustment for myself and for him. It's just completely disrupted our routine. I'm just going to call it a win that we've survived all that and that we're still kicking and that I am still building in these things in this moment, because it's been a lot. It's been a whole lot lately. So what about
I like
you?
that. Me, well, I'm going to start with our podcast. I have stepped into my role, which is really marketing this out. And I'm really happy. I've been putting out the blog posts. I've been getting the podcast up on time because Jenny handed that over to me.
Because I
And
got edited on time, so, there's that win.
yeah, when you were putting it on YouTube, though, it was always there on time. And then when that became me, we glitched for a few moments there. So that's been really good. And by doing that, I've learned a bunch of really cool skills and I'm building on that. And our listens are up over the 1,000 mark. Our episodes are really picking up steam. I have done specific tasks that have gotten us there. So that feels really, really good. I have been eating more and being more conscious of actually making sure that I feed myself, which I didn't really realize until I started thinking about it, that I wasn't feeding myself enough. So that's been good. And I've stayed very consistent with my getting outside and doing activity, even though it might not be the ones I want to be doing. I have been walking. I've been running. I've been consistently going surfing at least once a week. Mountain biking hasn't been happening as much, but we've been for a couple of really cool night rides. So my activity goals have been good. And I've been part of a big coaching program that finished not that long ago. And I consistently showed up to that. I was doing the work. I've got things launching. And I'm just finishing up a leadership coaching program that I've been doing, which has, been like the last 12 weeks. And I've been not doing as much of the work as I'd like to have gotten done, but I've been showing up pretty consistently for those things. And it didn't feel like a lot until I actually stopped and was like, hey, you know what? Like, I've done these things. And then I'm just going to add a bonus one in that I feel like, well, actually, my bonus one is that I have still not had a drink or a smoke for well over a year now. And it's been really, really nice. And my relationship with Ian is really good. It's calm. There's definitely always things that we can work on. But we've only had a few little blowouts, and I think those are important to straighten things out and clear the air. It's been much more productive in our communication and that sort of thing. So I'm still working on things that I need. I'm still trying to find that way to relax and unwind, which is something that my human design says I need to do without resorting to the Instagram, the Facebook, the TV. But I'm getting better.
Awesome. I love this.
So I hope that for you, our listeners, this has been helpful. I hope you followed along and kind of thought for yourself, how have you done for the last quarter? What are your wins and where are you intentionally moving forward? And it is baby steps. It's always baby steps. And we really do make more progress than we give ourselves credit for. So please do either just mentally write them down if you've got a piece of paper. Thank you for listening. If there's anything that's come up for you that you'd like us to dig into, that you'd like help with, you'd like us to just chat about, please pop a comment. I'm going to heartfelt ask for a review if you found this helpful. Share it with a friend. It really does help to get the podcast out and for other people to listen and hopefully enjoy what we're sharing. I am Natasha Lockie. I am a performance mountain bike and life coach, and I help you have more fun in your life as it is right now and start to figure out processes and tools that you can put together and the skills that you need so that you can perform better on your bike, improve your health, improve your strength so that you can have more confidence. And same thing in your life, because really it's the same structure. It's all about having more fun. And you can find me on Instagram at Betty Gohard. You can find me on Facebook and LinkedIn as Natasha Lockie. And you can find the podcast, ridinginweeds.com. We have a blog, and very soon you'll be able to subscribe to our newsletter. I'll let you know as soon as that is a thing, and we'll be sending out weekly emails just to let you know what we're going to be talking about or what's upcoming in our episodes. And yeah, Instagram at Riding in the Weeds. We do have a Facebook page. Haven't quite done anything with that yet, but there is some content in there too. How about you, Jenny?
Yeah, we are both definitely a work in progress, and so is the podcast as a part of that, but we're doing it. And thank you for all of the work that you have put in on it, because it's amazing. So I am Ginny Brandon. I'm an animal communicator and energy healer for animals and their people too. And you can find me on the web at soulpetconnections.com and on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube under the same handle. We really appreciate you being here with us today. Again, we would love to have your likes, comments, and shares and your reviews. It definitely keeps us going and motivates us even more to keep sharing with the world. We hope you are having a wonderful day and a great first quarter, and here's to the second quarter of the year. So we'll see you next week.
Awesome. And thank you, Jenny, because without you, this podcast would not sound nearly as fine-tuned and polished as it does. I think we're awesome first try, but then Jenny reminds me that she does a lot of work in the background. So you guys have a great day, and thanks for being here.